Welcome to the Big Success Show. Today, 3 ways to stop waiting for the right time.
Big Success with the Professor and Mary-Lynn.
Isn't there a song, Mary-Lynn, about waiting for the right time, right place? I can't remember.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a cool little
right
groove.
Time.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the best I can do.
We're thinking about the right time, obviously, as you can tell by the title of today's show. But we're in the middle of planting season here in our neck of the woods, as they say. Farmers are out in the fields. And you know, it got us talking. In a way, we're all farmers. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Hi, I'm George Kruger, a.k.a. The Professor.
And I'm Mary-Lynn. And our show today is inspired by a name that is synonymous with wisdom.
King Solomon.
Well, Professor. Ding, 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 ding.
All right, I scored.
That is correct. So the verse in the Bible is this. It's Ecclesiastes 11:4. Farmers who wait for perfect weather never plant. If they watch every cloud, they never harvest. That is not the farmers in here in Illinois, that's for sure.
No, they're all chomping at the bit to get going, right? Always. Well, I have to confess that I fight perfectionism.
Right.
And I think, Mary-Lynn, you might confess to the same issue.
Well, it's kind of human nature. You want to do something big, right? But you want to make sure that you're doing it at the most optimal time because you want to do everything right and do it great.
Absolutely. And so today's show is really... We're calling it a reminder to ourselves. We kind of wrote this for ourselves, but hopefully you're going to find some value in it too.
Well, it's awesome when we can all learn something together.
Exactly.
And all be reminded of something together. So things that people wait for the right time for. Things like waiting to get married. Waiting to start a business, waiting for the right time to change my job, to buy a home, to start a family, to go back to school, to achieve that big goal that I've been holding on to.
To get up in the morning.
yeah, sometimes I'm just going to hit snooze one more time. But what are some of the main reasons that people wait?
Well, there's a lot of them, Mary-Lynn, and I think the list would go on forever if we really sat down and started trying to list them. But we've come up with a few of the common ones. Financial conditions, obviously, can make people want to wait. Nobody wants to make big moves in the middle of a recession, although a lot of the smartest and richest people, that's exactly what they did. And
usually a big move, the goal of the big move is, in some cases, to gain financially, and so you don't want to lose financially right off the bat.
Precisely, yeah. And so we have a tendency to think that a good economy means more, that it's better to launch during a good economy than a bad. But there are a number of people who have made moves, like I said earlier, just in bad times, and it turned out to be the exact right timing. So other things might be family obligations. Mm-hmm. You kind of get to the point where maybe you feel like you can't afford to try something different or try something new.
My time to make big moves are over because I've got a kid and I've got college to pay for. And,
And life happens. We often say big success is life on your own terms. Sometimes life comes at you with life's terms.
Yes.
And so that happens and you have to adjust. Inertia, an object in motion stays in motion, but an object that's not in motion stays not in motion.
Right.
And so, it's real easy to kind of just get stuck in the status quo, be comfortable, maybe too comfortable. Mm-hmm. It's good to be comfortable, but there's a level of comfort at which we don't do anything.
Right.
And so having a little bit of dissatisfaction is actually a positive. And then, a final one, to just put in another category, is fear. There's so many fears we could list, but fear keeps us from moving forward.
So in some cases, waiting is not a bad idea.
Absolutely.
But does it hurt to wait?
Yeah, because the challenge is when we wait for that perfect opportunity may never come. Mm-hmm. And so that means we're inactive, we're stuck in the mire, as I like to describe it, stuck in the mud of potential.
And just thinking about our last podcast, if only itis.
Yes.
Then you get stuck in if only I did. But if only I'd have tried.
Right.
Because, years down the road, you'll be saying that if you don't try.
Exactly. And I think that the thing that we really have to realize is that a lot of times waiting is more costly than not waiting. Because when we don't wait, when we get started, we often gain information faster than we would have otherwise, than we would have from sitting there and analyzing it, for example. And so finding a way to push through the obstacles to moving forward finding ways to quit waiting for whatever is a real positive force.
And so today we're going to share 3 ways to stop waiting for the right time so you can start moving forward to big success. So let's get out the professor's whiteboard.
Yes, I need to quit waiting for the perfect time to clean out this stinking closet, Mary-Lynn.
I'd say. All right, first on the whiteboard, take action.
Yeah, if you want to find a new job, let's just say, get your resume put together. That's a good thing to do, right?
Taking action.
So if your goal is to lose weight, let's just say, cut one thing out of your bad diet and do it for 1 week.
There you go.
That doesn't take too much commitment. Right. You're getting started right away. You're not waiting anymore. If you want to start a business, find a potential customer and talk to them about what you're thinking about and get their opinion.
Oh, these things are great because a lot of times people wait for the right moment, the right time to do something because you think you have to do everything all at once.
Right.
This is just one little step. That really relieves the pressure. It's just taking action. Just doing something.
That's exactly the key, Mary-Lynn. Once again, it's getting inertia on our side, right? So if we can just get started, that's the hardest part. And now we can get going and we get momentum going behind us, and that helps push us ahead.
All right, that brings us to number 2 on the professor's whiteboard. Track your results.
Yeah, so for example, get your resume updated, send it out to, let's say, 5 people. Let's say you get 1 interview. Well, that's good. You got 1. Now send out 5 more. You'll probably get another one, So you kind of start establishing what can I expect in results for the activities that I'm performing. Another, like on the weight loss goal. Let's say that you look at the scale a week later and you've lost some weight. Well, keep doing the one you're already doing and add to it. What did your potential customer say for the customer one?
For the person who wanted to start a business.
Yeah. So what was the feedback you got from the customer? Well, okay, take that information and use it. Use it to move yourself ahead starting a business.
All right. Now we're to the third part. The third way to stop waiting for the right time on the professor's whiteboard. Double down or make adjustments.
Yeah, so what we're saying here is if it works, do more. If it doesn't work, do something else, right? So we talk about, on a recent show, we talked about try again, try something else. And, it's not necessarily the order. You may try again several times, but the point is, at some point, we're going to tweak it in a different direction, all right? Some examples of this, though, is like you send a resume, you got 1 interview. Well, tweak that resume to get better results. Maybe you tweak it and you get 2 interviews the next time you send out 5, let's just say. Or, you're wanting to lose weight. You cut back that one thing. We kind of talked about this already, but you cut back on that one thing and it worked. Well, try something now different. Try another one thing. And then, let's say with starting a business, your potential customer liked your idea. Well, talk to another customer. See if that first one just happened to be in sync with you, or if actually you're starting to see that, hey, there's actually potentially multiple customers here who might buy what I'm thinking about offering.
These are really good points. And here's how this process worked for me when I was in a situation. So when I was working in my radio career, my contract was coming up for renewal, and I was trying to make a decision. Do I stay put? Do I maybe move to a different market? Do I leave altogether? What should I do? So the first thing that we did in, looking at the professor's whiteboard, number 1 was take action. And so that action was to do some research, not only on the company that I work for, but also the industry as a whole. That was the decision. That's what we were going to do as far as taking action.
Yeah, and I think part of this, of course,
and George helped me with this, which is why I say we, because I came to George. This was back before we were even engaged.
Right.
And then I said, George, help me make this decision. What should we do? And he suggested doing some research to start.
Yeah, because the questions were many, Mary-Lynn. One was, you loved radio. You wanted to stay in radio, ideally. But you just weren't sure how much radio was going to love you. And so you had
how much should I ask for and pay with the renewal of the contract?
Yep.
Because I always wanted to go in and ask for, I want to make sure I was getting what I deserved.
Right.
So all of these considerations, there was a lot to go in on when you were going to renegotiate your contract.
Exactly. And you were thinking of this quite a bit ahead, at least 6 months ahead of when your contract was coming up for renewal. But the thing is, part of the reason was you wanted to know how soon should you make a move if a move was called for.
True.
How long was that runway? Did you have to try to take off relatively quickly, or did you have some time you could do kind of a normal takeoff?
Exactly. Because also when you're going into renew the contract, you want to have some leverage. So should I start putting the feelers out? Should I not? Those kinds of things. So number one, to take action was to do some research. Number two was track that research. So we looked at not only my company, we looked at a couple other companies too, but we also looked at the industry as a whole.
Yeah, or actually the biggest players, I think, in the industry, as I recall. And the whole reason for that was because, we went to your company and saw how they were doing, and financials looked tough. I mean, they were struggling.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, is this the company you're with, or is it the whole industry? And so we couldn't find a proxy for the whole industry, but we could find one of the bigger players, and their financials mirrored the financials of your company. It's like, okay, this is an industry-wide problem, and Mary-Lynn, you need to think about doing something besides being in radio, because, if you think about it, if the sales are declining by 4% and you want a 4% increase in pay, that's an 8% swing to the boss, right? And that's probably pretty unlikely. And that's what we determined was, like, if you wanted to make more money, you had to start thinking about, okay, what else can I do?
All right. And so number three was double down or make adjustments.
Yes.
And it was very obvious that I needed to make an adjustment. Because, even if I moved, looking at the industry as a whole, that was really helpful too. Because sometimes you think, okay, well, maybe if I just move to a bigger city, then, I could get more money. But of course, the cost of living is more.
Right.
And if the industry as a whole is seeing a drop, and that's a continuing trend, which, as it turns out,
it has been.
It still is.
Yes.
Then you're going to get laid off. You're certainly not going to make the kind of money that you want. And then obviously you're going to lose money you negotiate moving expenses, but honestly, there's expenses that you take on when you move. And plus you've lost your network and you have to rebuild from scratch.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot there. And by doing all of that work, I realized, yes, I needed to make an adjustment. And not just a job change, but a complete career change. And that's what helped me solidify my decision to leave radio and start my business.
I was saying the result was big success.
Yes.
And that's big with 2 G's.
That's big with 2 G's.
But I'll just quickly add, Mary-Lynn, I think the thing is, relating to the theme of this whole show, you love radio. To this day, you love radio.
Yeah, and I still do it part-time on a contract basis.
Yes, you still get to play radio show host now and then. I think though that you were able to kind of get past that by having this research really kind of coming to the forefront, and you realizing, wow, the other things I want out of life aren't going to be possible if I continue down this path. So, it's just, you realize you had to make a decision, and you had to make a decision sooner the better. Right.
And I made the right decision because everything that I loved about radio, I get to do with Big Success and with this podcast and with you.
Oh, thank you.
And so now that's winning.
And I'm very happy to be your co-host.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Mary-Lynn. And it's a pleasure for me too. So here's the key takeaway. Don't wait for perfect conditions to plant, or you may never see the harvest. Move forward today for your big success.
Are you ready to move forward and stop waiting? Take our free life purpose quiz. You'll find it at Big Success. That's big with 2 G's, success.com.
And we think this is the perfect time to say thank you for listening to our podcast today. We greatly appreciate it.
Until next time,
here's to your big success.
Find Big Success at BIGGsuccess.com.